The story begins with a character named Sal Cooper, holding his sword despite being beaten up, becomes the Cooper family's most useful shadow. A man behind the Knight Army says to him, Sal Cooper, as the shadow of the family, you have betrayed the family and concluded with the enemy for your own personal gain. In the name of the new family head, I order your immediate execution. Sal Cooper was in a desperate situation and trying to understand how he got framed. He cursed the people standing in front of him. With the remaining strength in his body, he swung his sword to target the family head as the last resort for setting him up. He dedicated all his life to his family, but it eventually became a hindrance to them. When the protagonist was about to reach the head of the family, the knights stabbed him. He vowed to take revenge in the next life. As a boy awakens in dirty clothes and jumps up, he begins to think, where has he come? Is he in hell? All of a sudden, a maid poured water on him, ordering him to clean himself because someone was coming to take him. In anger, the boy stared at the maid, but the maid slapped him and shouted at him for his behavior. The boy falls on the ground and wonders, why does she call me a brat? He then sees his face in the reflection. He laughs wickedly, and while clenching his fist with excitement, he thinks that Sal Cooper has actually reborn. He was formerly part of the Shadow of Cooper family in the previous life. With the other kids, they trained all the shadows to do all the family's dirty work. The reward family also gave them was endless riches and glory. Thus the shadows endure the hardships. As the illegitimate son, the protagonist was determined to change his fate, getting bullied by others. He was talentless, and so he trained to death. He took the initiative to fight for the family. In the end of countless slaughter, he gained victory for the family. He thought the family would welcome him with precious rewards, but unexpectedly he was framed. He then learned the harsh truth about the shadows. Alan cast the shadow oath. Because of it all, the strength of Sal Cooper was transferred to head of the family, while the pain of Alan injuries was also for Sal Cooper to bear. As for the money and glory, they are for bugs like you. At the end of his life, Sal Cooper struck with all of his remaining strength. He understood blood magic and stole back all the powers which was taken away from him by Alan. 3-year-old Sal Cooper swears not to repeat his previous mistakes. In the middle of thinking, his stomach began to growl like he hadn't eaten for 3 days. He wickedly looks at a rat nearby, thinking he will eat it to satisfy his hunger. 2 men came in looking for Sal Cooper. One of them called Sal a trash. He told him that young Master Alan wants to see him, so he had to accompany him. While the guards dragged him, Sal was thinking that at this moment, he was selected to become the Shadow. However, all memories of the initiation had disappeared. That must have been the time he was cursed. However, he thinks of an idea to take his revenge and bites on the hand of one of the guard. The guard yells at him and tries to punch him. Sal Cooper, with his tiny body, dodges the punch and pulls out his sword. One of the guard fell on the ground, stunned when he realized the little kid knew swordsmanship. Sal Cooper, too excited to hold a weapon in his hand. Enjoying the journey so far? Make sure to subscribe and hit that like button to keep the adventure going. All right, let's dive back into the story. Shadow Oath is a form of ancient blood magic. The caster, who is the master of the oath, only needs to pay a small amount of blood to make the target become his shadow. The shadow will be unable to harm the Oathmaster, and will have to suffer the injuries sustained by the Oathmaster in his place. At the same time, all the shadow's growth and abilities will be transferred to the Oathmaster. Due to the cruel nature of magic, the Empire issued an order 100 years ago to destroy all grimoires with records of shadow oaths, preventing anyone from using them. In the hall, the young master of the family slaps the guy who was bitten by the protagonist. Alan, the successor of the Cooper family, scolds him and says, "To be bullied by a wild dog? Did the Cooper family raise you for nothing?" The shadow says, "I'm so sorry, young master. It's because my subordinate failed his duty." Alan, walking toward the Sal Cooper, says, "To think you're daring enough to touch my own people. Someone lock him up in the dungeon." He is stopped by a woman, Alan's mother, and the matriarch of the Cooper family. As she walks toward Alan, she says, "That kid has not been looked after since he was young, so his behavior is normal," emphasizing that now is not the time to punish him. The most important thing is to take his oath. She comes closer and whispers, "Don't forget what your mother told you." As Alan stares at Sal, he thinks, "I have no idea why my mother chose this lowly bastard child to become my shadow. When I find the chance, I will definitely ruin him." He happily agrees to the mother's request. She continues to say, "Your mother will bring these people out and won't bother you." In passing the order to cast the sound-proofing spell, she orders everyone else to leave, except for the young master and the children. After everyone leaves, Alan fills a golden cup with water and says, "From this moment forward, you'll be a members of the Shadow family." Every child standing there swore that they will dedicate all their life for the family, while Sal only gazing on the water in his hands. Without a second thought like everyone else, he drinks it. All the children except Alan fainted. Alan, with an evil smile on his face, make a cute on his hand, dropping a drop of blood in front of the children. A huge magical array was formed on the ground. "All of you will provide your strength to me, while all the harm I sustain will be suffered by you," Alan remarked. A few moments later, the ground was visible with purple energy transferring from the children to Alan's body. Alan ponders, "I can feel the power entering my body. The shadow oath, did it work?" As he turned around to call his mother, he felt a sharp pain in his knee and collapsed. He started to panic, wondering, "Why can't I move my legs? Could this be the after effects of the shadow oath?" But the mother didn't say anything to me. Calling his mother, he tries to crawl on the floor. Suddenly, Sal remarks, "You really are a coward that only hides behind your mother's back. But what a shame. In order to not disturb you before you finish the shadow oath, your mother cast a soundproof spell. No matter how loud you cry, they won't hear you," Sal remarked. Alan was terrified and looked behind him to find Sal Cooper with a murderous aura. Alan asks, "How are you awake and how do you know about the blood oath?" Sal replies, "This is not the only thing I know. I wonder how your highness would react if I reversed the blood oath." Following this, he struck the blade into the ground. With his past life experience, Sal was successfully able to reverse the blood oath. While Alan's heart was aching, he yelled at Sal, asking him what he was about to do. "What am I planning to do?" Sal ponders. "In my previous life, I paid the price of my life in order to steal back everything that belonged to me. And in this life, I am simply returning the favor." Alan's yell was heard by the guards and his mother standing outside the hall. The thought of what might have happened to him made his mother anxious.